Hey, welcome. My bad. Dang it, too early. Welcome back, my friends. Now I can hit the music. You ready? All right. Now, here's what I decided. I just currently made this up last episode when I was having fun with my girl Sydney. And throughout this episode, if Rodney says anything at all that I like, that I'm going to steal from my own speaking engagements, I'm going to hit the bell. Adrian! See, this is what happens when you got multiple streams. This is my third stream today, and I think I'm going crazy. You got to switch it up a little bit. So I am really excited, guys. Welcome back to Second Chance live streams. Remember, we are talking about our upcoming book, Who Am I After Sports? An Athlete's Roadmap to Discover New Purpose and Live Fulfilled, where I share my personal battle with depression after sports, and then I share my signature framework that helped me go from suicide to success. It helps athletes and anyone in transition detach their identity from their activity, find their highest purpose, and live more fulfilled. So if you want an interesting read, if you are in a season of transition, if you are a nice person and you just want to gift the book to others, head over to secondchanceathletes.com. You'll find more information there. Man, I want to share my good friend Rodney with you. Let me read his bio, and then I'll say some nice things, and then I'll ask you guys to share and engage and let us know any questions you may have. So you guys are going to really enjoy this. He's a great speaker and has become a friend and a mentor in some ways to me. So from humble beginnings to a prosperous life, Rodney Kellum has discovered the power of speaking life into existence. In addition to accomplishing some major milestones, such as playing Division I basketball, where he lost to Darryll, being internationally recognized by CNN for the book he co-authored titled What Yo Nayme Iz, What Not to Name Your Child, and launching Speak Life Inspirational Speaking. I first met Rodney at, I want to say it was our first event that we had here at the John Maxwell Center, just a networking thing. I think it was about 7, 8 people that showed up there at the John Maxwell Center to connect. And Rodney was one of those people. And come to find out, he showed up at our church. One of his relatives had already been attending here, and then he started helping us out with addiction recovery. And one of the things that I always challenge people who come and desire to help people recover from addiction, and they want to speak into their lives, I tell them that more than a good message, these people need relationships. And so I'd love to have you as a speaker, but would prefer to have you as a consistent presence in their life. And so I'd love for you to just come show up, and then we'll see about speaking at a later date. And he did so, man. He was there, and he's been there consistently. And there's something about seeing the same person every single week for people who are used to instability that just gives you hope. That, man, these people care about me enough to show up consistently each week just to slap me a high five, say, hey, check in how I'm doing. And he's a phenomenal speaker as well, a great husband and father, and, decent basketball player. But he's going to share a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about transition, talk about sports. We're going to talk about his desire to speak and some of his messages that he's passionate about sharing with the world. We're going to talk about his book that he co-authored and get into that story a little bit. So I encourage you right now, is the perfect time, if you're watching on Facebook, to host a watch party. There's this little button you can click. I think it's in the top right corner. Or if you're watching on mobile, it's probably somewhere else. I think share, and then you can click host watch party. That will notify everyone on your timeline that this is content worth listening to, because it is. It will also help us share this information with more people. And want to encourage you, if you're watching on another platform, just to hit that share button, or if you're watching the replay, you can still do both of those things. For those of you who are just tuning in because somebody is hosting a watch party because they're listening to me instead of ignoring me, and you're wondering, who is this guy? My name is Darryll Stinson. I'm a former Division I athlete. I played at Central Michigan University, Fire Up Chips. And I, most importantly, am a suicide survivor. I attempted to take my life in 2012 because I didn't know who I was without sports. And so thankfully, I lived to tell the story. I'm a mental health advocate, a TEDx speaker, a pastor, and a father, and to 3 amazing daughters, and married to an even awesome wife. I'm married up. So that's a little bit about me. I'm in an interracial marriage, so that's interesting. And I'm grateful that you guys are tuning in today. I know you're going to take a lot away from my guests. So Rodney, I'm done yapping. I'd love for you to share with the audience a little bit more about your journey.
Well, let me just clarify something. Darryl's a better basketball player by default because I had a ruptured Achilles, so I got one leg. So just because I got one leg, he's better. But so yeah, my name is Rodney Kellum. I'm the creator of Speak Life Inspirational Speaking, and yeah, Darryll and I connected over his Second Chance Athletes. I'm a servant at heart. So every time I see an opportunity to serve, I know that's a part of the reason why God put me on this earth is to serve people and to speak life into people. I can't, won't, and don't hesitate. And so I've got an interesting story. I know we don't have 4 hours to tell the whole thing, but I'm from California. I'm from Sacramento by way of Pasadena. My memory sort of began around the boom of the crack epidemic in Pasadena, California, where my mom got caught up in addiction. And by the time we moved to Sacramento, around sixth grade, full time, it's where I fell in love with the game of basketball. My first love of my life, my mom. Second love of my life, Jesus. Third love of my life, basketball. And I fell in love with the game of basketball. I was not good. Wasn't good in the beginning. But I just loved it. I grew up watching Hakeem Olajuwon and Charles Barkley. I go to the playground, practice their dunks on the monkey bars and the short rim. Started out dribbling with one hand, finally learned how to dribble with two hands. You start with the dodgeball first, the big purple ball, play kickball with it, then you transition to the real ball. So I got a long, loving relationship with the game of basketball. Ended up playing college at Alabama A&M University in Huntsville, Alabama. And now I'm a California country boy, been in the South for a very long time now. And, one thing I learned, I'll get on the transition point, transitioning out of sports. I remember the first lesson I learned about transitioning when it comes to sports was in junior high school, every lunch period, every day in 7th and 8th grade in junior high school, me and a bunch of guys played basketball every day at lunchtime, every day. I got on the honor roll so I can get out of my period class before lunch so I can get to lunch earlier, eat my food on the way to the court, and be done by the time we got finished picking teams so we could play. That's how much I love basketball. So when we got to 9th grade and it came time for everybody to try out, you going to try out? You going to try? Yeah, I'm going to try out. And about a fifth of those dudes that I played basketball with in junior high school even tried out, and even less made the team. And it made me think, back to 7th and 8th grade, I'm thinking, yeah, we all going to play in the NBA together. We just keep playing. We're going to go to high school. We're going to go to college. We're going to go to everybody. Everybody's going to go. Mm-hmm. And I learned that everybody don't have it. Either they don't have the talent or the will to do it. And I said, I'm going to have to keep graduating. There's always going to be a time where, man, I'm wondering what's going to happen after high school. Those thoughts started around high school. Man, there's people better than me on my team. And by the time the end of my senior year came along, I ended up getting an offer to play at Alabama A&M. And I was the only one that got offered to play basketball. And I was not the best player on my team. I just happened to be the tallest, right? And that's a whole nother miracle story of how that even happened from Sacramento, California to Huntsville, Alabama. But we'll say that for your next book, Darryll. That's a miracle story. So I knew even then that there's always going to be a time of transition. And then my eyes got wide open by the time I got to campus. And there was people with jumping ability that I had never seen in my life. Like when I was in high school, the best player in my city was Matt Barnes, who's now retired from the NBA, right? Mm-hmm. And there's dudes that went to my college that put Matt Barnes to shame jumping wise. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm not as good as I thought. Like that whole NBA dream started going. That's funny. So you get humbled real quick by dudes with accents you ain't never understood in your life that got more physical ability than you. And I just realized looking back that it was my will and the grace of God and favor with other people that even got me into position to play collegiate basketball. And because of playing basketball, I met my wife. Been together for 20 years, married for 14 years, 3 children now. I just appreciate how God has ordered my steps. But by my senior year, so the summer before my senior year, I don't think I've ever told you the story, Darryll. My mother passed away. 2002. She had been clean for years, but the effects of her addiction had taken hold and caused some illnesses to come about earlier than most people would experience them. So I was 20 years old when my mom passed away. And when that happened, I couldn't put words on it then, but I was depressed. I was more than depressed. I was depleted. I don't know if anyone can relate to having your soul be tired. And I was empty. So the love of basketball was wasn't registering. I'd be going through the motions in practice, and I didn't know how to translate what was going on. I knew I wanted to play. I know I didn't want to lose my scholarship, but man, I was empty. And if it wasn't for my dad helping me during that time, I wouldn't even made it back to college. Like, I physically wasn't strong enough to stand up on my own 2 feet. He was 6'2" ish. I had to lean on his shoulder. I'm 6'7". So I wouldn't have made it back to college without him. Like, it would have just been over because I didn't have the energy in me. So when I got back to college and, things are happening, injury, one ankle breaks down. Then I hurt the other ankle because I was overcompensating. And then, my knee hurts because I'm that one ankle I'm not used to jumping off of. So my body's breaking down. And I'm like, man. And I didn't, the crazy thing was, I didn't even care. You talking about something, one of the loves of my life, and I didn't have any emotional response to not being able to do what I loved anymore, the way that I needed to do it. And so there was one game, and my coach was done. He was tired. He's like, man, just get out of here. Like, go finish school, whatever, but just don't come back. And I didn't have a reaction. It wasn't like, oh no, coach, I gotta play. It was like, nah. And you talking about something I've worked on since 6th grade. Right. Like, worked for this, earned this. And I didn't have any energy to even care. But that never quit attitude kicked in. All the lessons my mom kicked in. So the next day, I went to my coach. I begged him, hey, coach, man, please just don't let me finish like this. My mom wouldn't want to let me finish like this. And I still didn't have no real I was just like, I just can't go out like that. Please don't let me go out like that. Right. It wasn't even no embarrassment no more. Like, oh, Rodney ain't playing no more. He got kicked off. It's just like, let me finish with some decency, right? And I tried my best to muster up emotions, but by the time senior year was done, we had a real rough season. I still didn't know, it was attributed to the loss of my mom. And I just fizzled out. And I didn't even get back on the court pickup ball wise after I graduated for about 6 to 8 months because my body was so broke down. Jeez. And so I was forced into figure something else out. Right. And it took me a year to say, man, my mom's passing messed me up. And I didn't have anybody to say, man, you need counseling or this, or talk to somebody. What do you talk about? So that was my transition out of sports, was like the up here was gone. So any dreams that NBA dreams already been squashed by people jumping over my head, making Sports Center highlights. But man, the love was gone after that. And it took me some years after college to get that love back again. And so transitioning was forced upon me. It was emotionally hard because there was so many layers on top of it that, man, now my son's 11. He plays, youth sports, and I coach now, and the love is back. I'm like, boy, young buck, if I had 2 good legs, watch out, if I had 2 good legs, watch out that boy. You don't know how with that hook shot on you, boy. That hook shot. I'd be that old cat, but so yeah, man, that transition was definitely difficult. And I appreciate you creating Second Chance Athletes and free people to talk about these kind of things. Right. Because it's something that, while people don't really want to admit that they're struggling. Like I tell, and Cindy talked about this in the live stream we just did, people who are helping others in transition, a lot of them are just job placement or brand developers, and that's needed. It really is, and it's a part of our process. But really, I feel like our specialty comes from the identity piece and the camaraderie, and that's just so important because
I'll never forget when we did the first live feed and announced we were raising money. Like this was like 3 years ago. And this lady said, man, this is what I'm struggling with. I didn't even know it because everyone around me is not talking about it, but I know they're struggling too, because it's not normal to talk about these challenges, because as athletes, you're taught to just bottle everything in and just keep persevering. And that helps for sports. Like if you want to do, you know, the Michael Jordan and like bottle in your emotions and just turn on the beast, but you don't bring that into your mental health and your process in life. You got to be transparent about like, man, I missed this. I don't know if my future is going to be brighter than my career. I wish I could do this. I'm mad that I'm injured. I'm frustrated at my coaches. I'm frustrated I didn't get an opportunity. And so, yeah, man, it's important. So I appreciate you sharing more about your transition. What advice do you have for those athletes who are either getting ready to transition or maybe they're, you know, they're out of sports for a while, but they're still living their current life as if it's second best to their former life? What would your advice be?
Well, I'll start with the people that are still playing, and I'll say this. Everybody, no matter how great or not so great they are, has a last game. Everybody has a last game.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to play understanding that every day. Because like what you're saying, Darryll, is it becomes a part of our identity. Like people that know me from Sacramento, like, oh yeah, Rodney that played basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, tall Rodney. Like that's who I was and am still in my neighborhood. You know, silly Rodney, but yeah, he played basketball. I didn't get messed with the gangs because I played basketball. You know, that's basketball Rodney. You know, I mixed around in the different cliques, the drama club. I was with those kids too, but my main thing was basketball Rodney, because I did love basketball. But we have to realize our sports are not our purpose. Our sports are our tools.
Mm.
Right? Whether you only learn
doing that too.
whether you know whether you're going to be great and a professional athlete down the road, but it's always a catapult for something else.
Yeah.
Whether you're just learning how to be a part of a team, learning sportsmanship, learning life lessons of perseverance, you're going to have to take those and use them in some other part of your life to be successful. We've all seen the 30 for 30 broke. Like they were great athletes and made tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars and still went broke. Yeah. So they needed to learn something else besides the sport, like financial literacy, and they didn't do that because they only focused on playing.
Yeah.
So that we have to know other things. You can learn lessons that will apply to fatherhood, but when you have kids, you're gonna have to learn how to be a father.
Right.
Like you know about perseverance, but how do you keep your cool when your kid is on your last nerves and you can't quite shake them, because it's not legal, and you love them. You love them too. So you gotta say, man, let me be well-rounded. I know dudes that when I got to college in 1999, I'm a little bit older, that are still there that haven't finished college that came to play sports.
Mm-hmm.
And those are one of those things that fueled me, man. I can't be one of them dudes.
Mm-hmm.
I got to graduate. I got to graduate in 4 years. Like those things fueled me because I always had examples of what not to do, even though I didn't always have examples of what to do. Yeah. So all those people, man, that's like, man, back in my day, I'll say it like this. I know a dude who had gotten divorced, and even though he was in another relationship moving towards marriage, he would always talk about his ex-wife more than his next wife. Mm-hmm. I'm like, dude, if you're talking about your ex-wife more than your next wife, you're not ready. So you have to transition. You have to keep graduating. Yeah. You can't stay in junior high school forever. You can't stay in high school forever. You can't stay in college forever. There's always a next part of your life. Look at Shaq, man. Now he's Mr. Papa John's and he's this and that, and he's Mr. TNT. It's a personality that people love, not just his play. You got to transition. You're great at something other than your sport. You're probably better at something else other than your sport. And grab onto that, man. Hold on to it because you're here on purpose for a purpose.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it, man. So good. So good. I'm trying not to steal the show because you touched on something. I say that because when people will talk about, well, athletes, they're fine, man. They got influence, they got resources, they got this. And I'm like, no. Listen, if you were married to someone for 20 years and you got divorced and remarried within 20 or in got divorced and remarried within a year. You mean to tell me that you're not going to bring baggage into that next marriage? How do you think that athletes feel when they played sports for 20, 25, 30 years, they transition out and sometimes outside of their want or their will, and then they have to find something new immediately. There's no time to process. There's no time to grieve. This thing was their first love.
Like a drug.
And you put your everything into it. And some people, I can't say that. Can I say that? I can't say that. Can I say that? Nope, I ain't gonna say it. I'm gonna calm down. I was gonna say something I was gonna regret. So look, I'm interested to learn more about your book. And tell us about that.
So we my best friend and I, Sean Nosley, co-wrote 2 books, the What Yo Nayme Iz series. And the first one was called What Yo Nayme Iz, What Not to Name Your Child. And honestly, that book began as a joke, as a running joke, where we would collect legal names just as a list. Like, man, look at these crazy names. You see these names? And like 2-3 years went by and our list got really, really long. We'd be emailing it back and forth to each other and just laughing. And he had started authoring books, self-publishing already. He said, one day, let's just write a book. I said, okay. And he took half the chapters and I took half the chapters. But the most amazing part was it was just a joke. We were just going to do it. And I ended up on CNN, international news, talking about this long-running joke that became internationally known around the globe. And that blew my mind, where I thought things that were just funny to me or ideas that were just, oh, okay, it'll just come and go. People ain't going to really grab onto this, that the world was talking about. And I'm on CNN with, used to be TJ Holmes, but I'm on that show with Tuskegee Airmen. I'm on there with some great people. I'm in great company. And my mind just went boom. It expanded to think, well, Rodney, if this joke can get worldwide attention, what else can you do? Mm-hmm. Now, the sad part, everybody say sad part, is that we didn't know anything about marketing. And we didn't know anything about, putting books out there. At that time, we didn't have a website. I didn't even shout out where to buy the book on the CNN interview. So we missed out on a few $1 billion. You know how things work. But it was still a lesson in what is possible. Mm-hmm. So now I'll say, if you want the book, go over to Amazon.com and get your book, What Your Name Is, What Not to Name Your Child. And then we followed up with a second one called What Your Name Is, Volume TOO. And we went more in depth about name discrimination. Still funny, but a little more scholarly. Yeah. So that was a great experience for me.
Man, love it, man. What would you say, like, if you had advice to, because one of the things I love about that story that I didn't know, that was the first time I actually heard the story. That's cool, man. Is that it started out as a joke, right? Mm-hmm. And I think some people, and I don't know if this is true for you, but I hear people joke about things that they really want to go after. They just joke because it's insecurity, trying not to get them to commit. And so I would love for you to just talk to people who, because right now there's a lot of people in transition, right? There's a lot of people trying new things, wanting to try new things, wanting to open up businesses. I mean, I tried to register a new business, and what took me less than 24 hours to do, there's a long waiting list. I haven't even got a response yet. Come on, George, to get it together. But my point is that
secret on how to get to the front of the list later.
Okay, help me, please. Because I'm like, what is
I know the secret. The short version is talk real nice to the ladies on the phone.
I got you. I got you. Okay.
We're gonna talk about that. Look, during this pandemic, especially, it's a forced transition. Like I was, forced to transition out of college because my body broke down.
Right.
A lot of people are transitioning into hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars right now. Go over to YouTube University, and there's a whole bunch of people doing things that you think are insignificant, making a whole lot of money from businesses that you don't even think about, and they're making all kind of money flipping pallets, from returns from Walmart and all kind of stuff. And for me, the book helped me transition. My thought process was, man, if I keep doing things like this, I won't have to rely on someone else for a paycheck. So you can apply that to sports. Is that, if I had this other idea, I had these things that always make people laugh, or this thing that I always do that people love, and I keep pushing it to the side and downplaying it, man, that's your purpose trying to get your attention. and you keep dismissing your purpose. I'll wrap it up like this. One of my favorite people to listen to and read is Dr. Miles Monroe.
I thought you
And
was
he
gonna
had this
say
quote
me.
that said,
Dang,
the
man, my
wealthiest place
feelings
on
just
earth,
hurt.
the wealthiest place on earth is the graveyard. And because so many ideas have world-changing ideas and life-changing ideas have gone there to die. And there's ideas and things in books that were never written, inventions that were never created, because people went to their death without sharing it with the world. And he went so far as to say, man, you're being selfish. And so the people that you have greatness on the inside of you, that you have those ideas that people keep, man, I love that. Oh, you cook real great, and you won't, man, when we gonna start selling that? There's all kinds of outlets to do your gift, your talent. Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, Craigslist, PayPal. There's all kinds of ways to get started small until it gets big. Billion-dollar ideas start in garages. So what you have on the inside of you is meant for the world. Your gifts and talents, in the book that I live by says your gifts make room for you. So once your gift opens the door, then here you are. The message that you want to speak, the life that you want to live can walk through those things and then operate. And so I think Darryl's having some technical difficulties. There he is.
Bag.
He's back. He missed all the nuggets. He can't steal them for his next.
I ain't miss him.
I was dropping gems.
Your gift will make room for you. That one was already in the arsenal. So
I see my co-author dropped the link as well on how to get the book.
Yep. And we'll make sure that they get access to that. I know our team dropped it in the comments as well for you. And so, yeah, I really want you guys to check out the book. I haven't even read it yet, so I'm looking forward to reading it. And let's talk about speaking. Man, you have a passion for it, and you shared your message, and you'll I know you're sharing more. And talk about what. Man, I know every person that really is called and commissioned to be a speaker has a mission that they want to accomplish. What would you say is your mission as a speaker?
I've learned that I don't have just one, but it wraps up into speaking life into people so that they may be inspired to live their best life. Right. And what fueled me and got me started was there were several instances where I almost died. Several instances. I won't go into those stories right now, but there was one instance where which fueled me to say, let me start getting into entrepreneurship. Let me start. I got these gifts and talents, but my aunt had passed away, and this was my son was born already. So let's say 2008, 9, 10. It's one of those years, and I didn't have any money to fly back. Well, actually, my uncle, my mom's brother, and my aunt, my dad's, we call her my aunt. They grew up together. Passed away at the same time. I couldn't make it to both. My grandma said, "Hey, go be with your aunt." I didn't have any money for a plane ticket. I actually I don't ask for anything. I had to ask people for money. I got a standby ticket to Las Vegas. If anybody knows, trying to fly to Vegas on a standby ticket on a weekend ain't happening. I'm in a suit. I'm sleeping on the benches at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. I'm 6'7". I stand out. But I'm thinking to myself, this is pitiful that I don't even have a few bucks to put together on my own. I have to ask several people and several families to get enough money together to buy a standby ticket, which is also a hookup from somebody, to go pay my final respects to my aunt, who I love, who helped raise me.
All right.
And I said, I got to do something different. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started my first entrepreneurial endeavor. And so from that moment, from that spark, it led me to, near-death experience, let goes, layoff, fired several times. And one of the reasons I got fired was because literally I chose to take care of my son and not go into work on a freezing Monday night because my son was still months old. And because I made that choice, I lost what I thought at the time was my dream job, to say, I've got to stop letting people have control over how I take care of my family. Mm-hmm. And then that's one of the moments that started to get me into Speak Life. And what really solidified Speak Life was my daughter going through an ailment and me having to sit down at home and work from home and hold her in one arm and reevaluate the entrepreneurial endeavor I was in and saying, That's not my message. It's great and all, but my purpose is to speak life into people, because when I leave, the legacy I want my children to know was that I inspired people. It's the purpose that God had put on the inside of me, going back to when I was 4 years old, and I'm captivating an audience of adults standing around me, and they sitting there in awe and tears running down their face. I'm like, what are y'all looking at? And I just finally accepted it. My daughter was like 1, not even 2 years old. So she's 6 now. So 5 years ago, I said, speak life. Let's go. Boom. Let's do it. It's in full force. So I just been, every opportunity I get to speak life into people, paid or free, I'm doing it, because I know I have to leave earth empty. I'm not going to go to my grave, like Les Brown says, and keep that wealth in the grave. Because what I have to say in the stories, the things that I've been through, help inspire people not to commit suicide. And I've lost people to suicide, 3 close people to me, but that cause people to change their dietary lifestyle. I've caused 2 people to change their lifestyle after they saw what happened to me when I melted this fat off of me. Excuse me. When fat melted off me, when I had this extra basketball belly that wouldn't go nowhere, they said, "What did you do?" I said, "I was eating so and so." They just changed it. So the life that I lived, an example that I set, I realized God is using me to say, "Man, look what this dude did."
Right. Yeah, you're being an example, man, and that's what I love about you and appreciate about you, man. And one of the things that is, I wish was more common, but it's not typically, is just vulnerability, transparency. I mean, and that's what makes you a great speaker. I mean, I've heard you speak to our addiction recovery community here. I'm hearing you now. I watched some of your videos online, and the level of transparency you have as a speaker, just to be real and relatable, man, is great. And I can't wait to see, all of the things that God has in store for you, man. I'd love for you to talk about, as we get ready to close here, just some encouraging words to people who are listening and watching right now, and they need life spoken into them. I'd love for you to just speak life into them. And I'm going to not hit the bell, but I'm just going to steal everything you're about to say.
Yeah, I came up with one yesterday, 2 days ago. My wife's like, "Say that again." One more time. Is that, when it comes to using your gifts and talents, a lot of people have limitations, whether it's from people in your life that have spoken down on you, like growing up, living in several different hoods and ghettos, the old saying, "Man, you ain't beep." That was common, but people just wanted your position. But I want to make sure I say it the right way, the way that I said it, all rights reserved. Human potential is only limited by limited beliefs. Here's what I know. There's speakers out there that are making a whole lot of money speaking, that I know I'm a better speaker than. There's speakers out there with 1 arm, and I got 2. There's speakers out there with speech impediments, and as far as I know, I speak decently clear. There's people out there that I'm not, a supermodel, but I look decent, that aren't as decent as I am. And they're still getting paid to do this thing. Yeah. So whatever you think of yourself really doesn't matter. What matters is the fruit that you bear when you share your gift. Are people's lives made better by it? Is your life made better by it? You got to get it out there. And what I tell everybody, because I know this to be a fact, no matter what your mental abilities or disabilities are, physical abilities or disabilities are, is that everybody born is not an accident. And that you're here on earth for a purpose. You're here on purpose for a purpose. Your job is to find that purpose, live it out, leave empty. I remember living in Pasadena feeling hopeless because it was ghetto life. It was Section 8 food stamps. And I was thinking, man, why don't some of these rich people from TV come help? Please come help. And didn't nobody ever come. And there was plenty of people with the ability to come and even speak something encouraging into us, man, hey, it gets better. I had to start telling myself that at 4 and 5 years old, because no one else was there to tell me that.
Right.
So I do this for the 4 and 5-year-old Rodney that was witnessing gang violence and drug use and an alcohol addiction. Man, it gets better. It can get better because you can be the person who makes it better. You might have been through all these hardships and setbacks and being downtrodden, but you're the person who can make it. You're the person who can persevere. You are the person. You can't wait for somebody else to come and do it for you. You be the person that wakes people up and say, oh, man, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my abilities. You know, I feel guilty nowadays. I can't sit down and play video games no more. Right? Because I got 3 kids. Even if I have time to do it, I feel guilty if I take time away from my family and go play video games by myself. Right? I got the classic Nintendo and everything just hollering at me to come play. And I say, no, man, I haven't met my financial goals. I haven't met my spiritual goals. I haven't encouraged somebody today. And until I get these certain things done, I cannot and will not quit. I have to speak life into people. It's a fire that's been lit by so many things happening, by losing so many people, my mother, family, friends, teammates, people I grew up with, and reminding me like, Rodney, you don't know when you're gone. My left artery almost closed when I was 26 years old. When I had blood clots in my legs and lungs and had pain, almost couldn't stand up straight, was reminders like, oh, hey, you could be gone too. Get busy. So all the videos I put out there, the things I write, no matter what the political climate is, I stay focused on my purpose. And more people got to get focused on their purpose so they can stop complaining about Monday. Monday's a great day.
I know, right? I didn't knock my whole camera out.
Oh, I think Darryll said he knocked his camera off. So, man, I hope that encouraged somebody. I know we got some live audiences. You know, here, I think Darrell's coming back. There he is.
I'm trying to fix I didn't knock my whole camera out. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Loud and
Probably
clear.
not, huh? This will be better. There we go. Y'all can hear me now, can't you? Look, yep. I'm over here acting crazy and knocked all my audio out of my.
That's my effect when I'm in my purpose. I break stuff. I blow stuff up. People can't handle it.
Man, I love it, man. Can we put Rodney's website on there so they can know how they can connect with you? And man, I encourage you, you know, if you're watching this, and just reach out, man. He's a servant, man, and he loves to help, and he's got a message to share, multiple messages to share with the world. And so encourage all of my former podcast hosts, reach out to Rodney and let him share his story and his message. And there's so much more that we could get into, man. I just want to end on a note just specifically about athletes and their movements, man. I'd love for you to just close with some thoughts on athletes during this time. Specifically, I mean, I just saw it yesterday, Dak Prescott, man, that ankle that just hurt so bad, man. But you think of and obviously, I think they said he already had his surgery. It's like, dang. And so, like, I mean, I know he's going to bounce back, but, you know, it's those tragic incidences, and COVID has caused some conferences to not even play their season. And so I'd love for you just to speak some encouragement to those athletes that are lost their careers.
Yeah, man, it goes back to my saying that everybody has a last game. And it's almost never in your control. Almost never. Very few people get that Kobe send-off, and they get that farewell tour where everybody clapping and applauding you. You just don't know. You don't know when your last game is going to be, whether it's a pickup game or organized game, you know, unpaid or professional. We don't know. But again, I'm going to remind you one more time that everybody has a purpose. Everybody has gifts and talents. And your identity isn't that you're a player of X, Y, Z sport. Your identity, from my standpoint, is that you're created on purpose for a purpose, and that God loves you, and he put you here as a solution to somebody's problems. One of my mentors, Dr. Vaj, says, you're a solution for somebody's problems. Be the solution. Don't go to the grave empty. Start living a life bigger than your sport. Let that sport be your tool. Let that sport be your tool to go teach some kids about the sport and mentor. Let that sport be a tool to write a book, Darryll. about sports. See how this works? Man, your experience is valuable. There's people out there called consultants, and they make 6 figures a year telling other people about their expertise and how they can apply it to their life. So if you're talking about money, you can be a consultant. You can go be a scout.
Yep.
You can talk about your experiences and how you applied it in some other part of your life. Man, there's all kinds of ways you can live your life and move forward and be fulfilled, yet if not yet more fulfilled. So I promise you, fatherhood is way more fulfilling to me when my children have successes than sports ever was. And I wasn't the best player ever, but I had some moments, right? Had some highlights. And I still look fondly on them, but it's like, man, remember when your daughter started walking in not working, she's only 6. When she started walking in Chick-fil-A, when she took her first steps, you remember that? Man, can't nothing touch that.
Yeah.
Can't nothing touch that. When my son was 3, and he said, when I grow up, I want to be a daddy like Papa. Man, insert that squeal sound and look. Nothing beats it.
Yeah.
There's more to life. That sport was just your springboard. Keep on graduating. You're more than what you thought you were. You're not just a sport. Your brain can do so much more. But just hold on to that. Live it out. Live your life. Make an impact. It's time.
Love it. Love it. Rodney, thank you so much for your time today, guys. So good. If you're just tuning in at the end, the good news is that we'll leave this up for you for your viewing pleasure. We only ask that you share, host a watch party, share people that you like, love, and care about. Man, I don't even know where I want to say so much right now, but the best thing that comes to mind is just great job. Like, thank you so much for the content, your transparency, your vulnerability, all the things, all the material that you gave me that I will be stealing. Appreciate that. Got some quotes that I'm gonna be using. And man, I want to encourage you guys to join us again today. Like, this is gonna be Dr. Richard Schuster. Oh man, such a great friend of mine. He's going to be sharing about work-life balance. He's got years and years of experience. He has a powerful story. He's a former TEDx speaker. He's been featured in some of the world's biggest media publications for his work. He's way smarter than me. So I think what would be fun when I bring Dr. Richard on is, instead of me ringing the bell when I hear things that I am going to steal for my own speaking pleasure, I am going to ring the bell for every time he uses a word that I don't understand. Because he's just very intellectual, man. And he is going to be talking about a tool that he's integrated into a work-life balance tool that he already had called the Powers Assessment, that he has now added the athlete identity scale to the tool that's scientifically backed and proven, and you'll be able to connect with him. So I want you guys to come back and join us. I think that one's at like 2 p.m. Eastern, but all the information is on our social media pages. So come back, join us later. We'll still be talking about it. I want to encourage you, if you haven't already, and you're wondering, man, what's the Second Chance Athletes things? Head over to secondchanceathletes.com. If you click live, you'll get to see the upcoming speakers and the previous replays. So you'll get to watch this over again and hear some of the things that I'm stealing from Rodney. And then you'll get to hear me go crazy on the bell and completely knock my sound out because of the thunder he brought. Man, thank you guys for joining us today. Rodney, again, thank you. And we wish you guys the best. Go out there and do it. Remember, your best days are always in front of you and never behind you. Bye-bye.